After all the miles, all the coffee, all the corned beef hash, all the waffles, and certainly all the great conversations, the time has finally come. Over the course of this series, I visited some truly memorable breakfast spots in the valleys. Some were hidden gems, some were local institutions, some surprised me, and some set a very high standard from the moment I walked into the door. But now it's time to put them in order. So today, I'm ranking my top 5 breakfast spots in the valleys, with one honorable mention that just nearly made the list. For me, breakfast is judged on 3 things: food quality, atmosphere, and service as my tiebreaker, although I do consider service to be extremely important. That's the standard I use throughout this series, and that's the standard I'm using today. Hi, I'm Frank Spencer, Mr. Chatsworth, and today the time has finally come to rank my top 5 breakfast spots in the valleys. Over the course of this series, I visited some truly wonderful places. Some were hard to find, some were local favorites, some were unforgettable because of the food, and some earned their place because they delivered a complete breakfast experience from start to finish. Now, before I get into the ranking, I'm going to remind you one more time how I judge a breakfast. It comes down to 3 things: food quality, atmosphere, and I use service as a tiebreaker. And with that in mind, let's begin. But before I reveal the top 5, I do want to give an honorable mention to the horseless carriage. Now, one of the things that makes this place memorable is the setting itself. It's housed inside the Galpin Ford dealership, and the atmosphere feels like a classic 1950s diner. Customers are just as likely to settle up to the counter as they are to settle into the comfort of a booth. And that alone gives this place a charm worth mentioning. But what nearly got the horseless carriage into the top 5 all on its own was the waffle. The texture was so crisp that I was absolutely convinced it had been deep fried. In fact, I asked about it, and the server assured me that the texture came from the recipe for the batter and not from a deep fryer. I got to tell you, that waffle is truly, truly unique. Now, while the rest of the breakfast plate was good, and I absolutely will go back, it didn't quite rise to the level of the 5 restaurants that made the final list. So horseless carriage earns a very respectable, very well-deserved honorable mention. Coming in at number 5 is Than Waffles. And to be clear, this is a restaurant I eat at frequently. It was a very good breakfast, and the waffle absolutely lived up to the name. It was light, crisp, buttery, and clearly not an afterthought. In fact, at Than Waffles, the waffle clearly is a star. The service was excellent, the eggs were well prepared, and the hash browns, they were very good. But for me, the corned beef hash, while flavorful and generous, just missed the crisp exterior texture that would have moved it higher in the rankings. So while it absolutely earned a place in the top 5, on this day it came in at number 5. Number 4, well, I have Country Deli in Chatsworth. And again, this is a place that I eat at frequently and absolutely love. This place deserves real credit. Their corned beef hash, simply excellent. The home fries were nearly the star of the plate. And as a deli breakfast, it absolutely belongs in the conversation. I also appreciate the atmosphere. That Western identity and that local feel, the sense that this restaurant is rooted in the Chatsworth vibe. What kept it at number 4 was not a major flaw, but rather the fact that the places above it created a slightly stronger total breakfast experience. Still, this is a place I happily recommend, and I frequently dine at. Number 3 was More Than Waffles. In this place, what made me work to find it took me 3 tries, but once I finally did, my persistence was rewarded. This was one of the true hidden gems of the series. The setting was warm and inviting, and the interior, it felt like every grandmother's dining room and every grandchild's favorite memory. The waffle was delicious. The corned beef hash was stunningly flavorful, and the poached eggs were perfectly done. The bacon was thick cut and excellent. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the coffee, which was one of the most memorable cups I've had anywhere in this series. This restaurant absolutely earned its place in the top tier. Now we get to number 2. And this is where things become interesting. Number 2, I have the Junkyard in Simi Valley. And I'm very comfortable putting it there. Again, a place I frequently dine at and one I take my out-of-town guests to. Because of the atmosphere, coupled with that home-cooked Southern-style breakfast, well, it creates something that is truly unique. And from the moment you pull into the lot, you know you're in for a different kind of experience. And once inside, the feeling only grows. The decor, it's unforgettable. The setting is like anywhere else. Where else is the bathrooms? Are the bathrooms a destination point of the restaurant? But then the food arrives. The biscuits and gravy took me on a real walk down memory lane. The sausage was excellent, and Mrs. Chatsworth's churro Belgian waffle, outstanding. And the service made the whole experience even stronger. It wasn't perfect, but it certainly was memorable. I would have liked a little more punch from the biscuits and gravy, and the bacon didn't quite rise to the level I would hope for. A little thin and a little limp. But taken as a complete breakfast experience, Junkyard was just too memorable, too distinctive, and too enjoyable to put any lower than number 2. And that brings us to my top pick. The top breakfast spot in the valley, according to Mr. Chatsworth, just has to be Brent's Deli. From the very beginning, Brent set the standard, and it's the only one that I went back to during the filming of this evaluation of the top 5 breakfasts. The moment Mrs. Chatsworth and I walked in, it felt like stepping back in time. The wood beams, the paneled walls, the stained glass, the exposed kitchen and deli. All of it created an atmosphere that just felt timeless. And then came the meal. The corned beef hash, simply a home run. The potatoes were not an afterthought, and the rye bread, warm and delicious. The service was exceptional, and if memory serves me, and I think it does, I said on a scale of 1 to 10, both the food and the service were a 15. And that tells you everything you need to know. Brent's was not just a great breakfast. It was the breakfast that set the benchmark for this entire series. And for that reason, it easily earns the number 1 spot. So let's recap what we came up with. Here's my final ranking of the top 5 breakfast spots in the valleys. Honorable mention has to be Horseless Carriage. Absolutely unforgettable place, and one I will go back to. Number 5 was Than Waffles, and this is a restaurant I eat at frequently. Number 4, Country Deli, also eat at frequently, and it's in walking distance from our home. Number 3, More Than Waffles, and this, again, was a hidden gem and worth the effort to find it. Number 2, Junkyard. It's a crazy place that serves great food, and you're not going to be bored while you dine. Number 1, Brent's Deli. I've said it all. They're simply the best. And I have to say, this was a fun series to make because each of these restaurants brought something uniquely different to the table. And that's what made the ranking so interesting, frankly, so difficult. I went back and forth as I placed them into their final spots. But now I'd love to hear from you. How would you rank them? Would you have Brent's at number one, or would you rank Junkyard higher? Would More Than Waffles or Country Deli get a different spot on your list? Let me know in the comments. I promise you I read every one. And if there's another breakfast space in the valleys that you think should be part of the next conversation, tell me that too. If you're thinking about selling your home though, I wrote a free guide called Avoiding a Failed Sale and How to Sell Smart and Walk Away Without Regret. You can download it at my website, www.mrchatsworth.com/ebook. Until next time, I'll see you around the neighborhood.